Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United news, and it's somewhat unbelievable news if I'm being completely honest. I'm sort of I'm tell you what, I'm getting very frustrated with YouTube cutting off my intros. I'm getting very frustrated with it, YouTube. I don't know whether somebody can do something about this, but I'm getting very frustrated about going live and then seeing it live 5 seconds fucking later. Start it out, YouTube. Why are my intros being ruined? I'm having to redo them. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United news, and I find it unbelievable the news we're talking about this morning. And I'm not talking about my intros. I'm talking. See, now I'm gonna get. Now you've got Madbridge. You don't want Madbridge on a Friday morning when we're talking about what we're going to talk about. Look, Keefe says, who hasn't fallen out with Ten Hag? To reach the top, managers have to manage youth and stars alike. In this sense, seems like Erik Ten Hag has a ceiling already. Well, look, we are talking about another fallout, unbelievably, in relation to Varane and Ten Hag. And as somebody who supports Ten Hag, even I'm sat here now going, this is not good for him. You know, as somebody that wants him to do well and as somebody who wants him to be a success, I think he's making a massive mistake. He's not playing the game. The media will love it. Those who want him out will love it. Arguing with players publicly in a season where you're not doing well, and let's be honest, if you were giving Erik Ten Hag a rating so far this season, if you're giving him a 6, well done, because I'm giving him a 4 and I support him. This is, you know, he's not in a position of power. We've got a new owner coming in effectively to run the sporting side. He's on thin ice what he's doing, and he's falling out with players all over the place, in season as well. It really worries me. I want Ten Hag to stay. I want him to do well, but even I've got to sit here and say he's doing himself zero favours. Of course, we're talking about this story about Varane, where apparently the relationship is broken to a point where people don't think it'll be fixed. He will have to leave in January. And look, it's not ideal to lose one of your best players in January. It wasn't ideal to lose Ronaldo in January last season or whenever we came back. It was December from the World Cup, wasn't it? So it's just not good. We'll get into it. Sean Turner said, I said this last night. It's a worry. I honestly don't think the manager can handle big personalities. No other manager would pick Evans over Varane. He's killing us with his decisions. Sean, I'm genuinely worried. I mean, I'm not worried to the extent of let's sack the manager. I think if I look back a month ago when people were saying sack Ten Hag, it wasn't because he'd fallen out with Varane. So you can jump on that now, and that can be your reason if you want it to be. But that wasn't the reason that people were against Ten Hag then. I think it was a bit premature. But look, let me give you the news. There's quite a lot to get involved with. It includes Casemiro as well. We'll also be talking a little bit about the future of John Murta, whose job is also under jeopardy. But a very interesting article. We've had Chris Wheeler on the show. In fact, Beth interviewed him last week. It was up on the show. So it's coming from Chris Wheeler and Sami Mukbel, who is another good journalist with the Mail. They're basically saying this. The relationship between Erik Ten Hag and Rafael Varane is practically broken. A frank exchange of views took place after Varane was dropped for the Manchester derby last month. Varane is unhappy that Johnny Evans was chosen ahead of him. And look, I don't know what your understanding of Rafael Varane is or his place in the game, but there are no incidents of Varane being a big-time Charlie or having an ego. In fact, quite the opposite. There's a fantastic documentary about Varane. I think it's still on Amazon Prime. And really humble, hard-working young man who got himself to Real Madrid and has won World Cups and has won Champions Leagues, and really just isn't that type of player that kicks up a fuss and causes problems in the dressing room. And yet here we have another fallout. We had a fallout with David De Gea, who again is was not that type of personality. And for anybody who thinks that there wasn't a fallout with David De Gea, there was. He was treated like shit. I said it at the time. Look, I'll back the manager, but I love De Gea, and I don't think he should have been treated like that by the club. And they did shit on him. But people didn't talk about it at the time because we had a new shiny toy, which was Onana, which I like Onana, and I liked the signing. But let's never forget that David De Gea was treated like shit. It was another fallout. I don't even know if it was a fallout. He went on holiday and was told he was gone. I mean, it was cowardice, maybe. I don't know. But the treatment of big players at this club over the last 12 months is dubious at best. Casemiro is now being talked about leaving in January as well. And you look at it and you go, hold on a minute. There has to be a point where you look at this and you go, These are not troublemakers. Ronaldo set that bar too high. If that's a crime, then bloody hell, send him to prison. David De Gea was a legend of this club. He just won the Golden Glove and you shit on him. Varane doesn't have this reputation, was brilliant for his last year, and you're dropping him for Johnny Evans and you're falling out with him. Casemiro, he's had a few bad games. So's Rashford, Bruno and everybody else, and he needs to be sold. The Sancho one, look, the tweet never helped Sancho, I've got to be honest, but there's 5 players there in 12 months that he's fallen out with. And you just go, they're the wrong players to fall out with. I can name 5 players you need to fucking fall out with. Like, we all know 5 players to fall out with and fuck off. But these are not the 5 players that we really should be falling out with and kicking out the club. And it leads you to say what I said last night. Is this about football or is this about business? And to me, it's about business. It's about getting rid of anybody over 300 grand a week because we need to save money and save the football club from the debt and the fucking mess that the Glazers have inflicted on us. I don't think these are football decisions anymore. I think these are, let's piss these players off so they want to leave and then we can get rid of their wages. And that really frustrates me because I want Ten Hag to do well. I back Ten Hag. I think he has the managerial skills to do well at this football club. But if there is an overarching, let's get rid of players because of what they're earning, we ain't a football club, we're a bloody business. And I just think it's too coincidental. And I could be completely wrong on this. I'm not saying I'm right. I've got no evidence to say I'm right. I'm just frustrated about this situation. And I'll tell you the reasons why. Varane wasn't signed by Eric Ten Hag, doesn't fancy him, says Rory. Yet he picked him all last season and we finished 3rd and we won we won the most clean sheets. Rory, basically, you make a good point. A few people have said to me that, look at Maguire. He wasn't in the team last year and he's had to wait for his chance. The difference between Harry Maguire and Raphael Varane is the difference between night and day. Maguire was given a chance, blew it, and was out the team for the rest of the season, and Ten Hag wanted to sell him. Varane came into the team, was brilliant for his last season, and has proven himself not only for Ten Hag, but as an important player for Ten Hag. There's no comparison to that. I think the wages issue is a red herring. It's just the big personalities are on big wages, and it seems he can't deal with the big players. Or more likely, they are not buying into what he's trying to do, says Rory. Once again, you're falling for Player FC. People like you are why it exists at the club. Stop having favourites, says United. I don't have favourites, United. And you're a troublemaker, as everybody in this chat knows. You're very welcome to be a troublemaker, but everything you say is toxic, which some people say is hypocritical. I'm not being toxic. I back the manager. I do not want him to be sacked, and I want him to do well. But in life, you can care about somebody, and if you really care about them, you will speak out about their flaws and hope that they change their attitude. I'm worried about what Eric Ten Hag is doing for his own good. If I was Ten Hag out, this would be easy. I'd be like, he's gone. He's burning his bridges. He's gone. I don't want him to go, but I think he's making massive decisions. So I'm not going to be. I think he's making massive mistakes. So I'm not going to not call them out. I want him to stay. But my big issue is he's falling out with players in season. Sancho was at the start of the season. Ronaldo was at the start of the season last year. Varane is now in season. Casemiro is next in season. He's losing that fucking dressing room. There will be people in that dressing room who like Varane, who like Sancho, who liked Ronaldo, who like Casemiro, who liked De Gea. He's losing. It's not just about falling out with Varane or Sancho. Is that team playing well? Is the camaraderie there? No, it's bloody well not. And maybe we need to open our eyes up and go, there probably are players in that dressing room who are losing faith in Ten Hag because of how he treated Sancho, how he treated definitely De Gea. I told you this weeks ago. There are players in that dressing room who do not understand the De Gea decision. They liked him. He was well liked. He was well respected. He was playing well. And they see him replaced with a goalkeeper that's not ready for this league. So look, forget the Varane thing. It's the way we're doing it. Publicly, in season, falling out with players constantly. The media will be rubbing their hands at this. They'll be going, look at the Sancho situation, now Varane, De Gea in the summer, Ronaldo last year. Is this a ruthless manager clearing house? No, because there's still a load of shit here that won't get sold, so we can't go down that angle. Is this a manager who can't handle big egos? Maybe. Is this a manager who's a Glazer puppet getting rid of all the big wages? Maybe. Is this a manager out of his depth who can't handle this league? Maybe. Unless this is those maybes are what worry me. I want a manager that I look at and go, whew, This is aggressive and ruthless. I don't agree with it, but bloody hell, this is going to be interesting. I'm all for that. If that's your angle, United, I'm all for that. If this is a manager going, I don't give a shit, I know what I'm doing, I'm ruthless, I'm aggressive, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to clear house and bring everything in, I haven't got a problem with that. The problem with that is, get rid of Casemiro, get rid of Varane, get rid of Ronaldo, get rid of De Gea, get rid of Sancho. Ruthless. Ruthless stupidity, because let's buy Mount for 55 million quid, makes no sense. Anthony for 80 million euros, not working in year 2 at the moment. Maguire and McTominay still here, but you wanted to sell them, and now they're part of your first team. De Gea replaced with Onana, who's struggling to settle in. He's not being ruthlessly aggressive, because some of his decisions are questionable, and this to me just looks like get rid of big wages, and in season as well. Somebody at that football, he desperately needs that sporting side fixed quick. He definitely needs somebody who knows what they're on about in his ear now. Definitely. Because if I had the power and authority and I was at Man United, I'd pull Ten Hag into a room and it wouldn't be a conversation, it would be an order. I'd say, look, I'm the boss. What you're doing, you're sacking yourself. I don't even need to sack you. You're going to sack yourself. Look at the fan base. Look at the media. Look at the way we're performing on the pitch. Look at the money you've spent. You can't be falling out with players publicly like this. We can't have situations where everyone knows you've fallen out with Varane. Everyone knows you fell out with Sancho. Everyone knows you fell out with De Gea. Everyone knows you fell out with Ronaldo. The team's not performing, Eric. It's not playing well. It's not with you at the moment. It's very visible. And you're falling out with good players. For what? You've got to box clever. You can't just be stubborn, I'll get there in the end. Like, literally, you are at one of the biggest clubs in the world. Results matter. How the fans feel matter. How the squad feels matter. How the media feels matter. We can protect you so much, but you've got to start playing the game better. If you don't want Varane as part of this football club, dropping him for a Manchester derby and having a big fallout in bloody November, do it in January. Let's get rid of him quick. Don't do it in fucking November. Play the game, mate. Keep him involved. Keep him happy. Keep smiling. Keep being positive. Let's get through to January and create the problem then when we can solve it in a couple of days. I can't solve this problem for you in November, Eric. It just becomes a big bloody nightmare. We've got big games coming up. If you pick Maguire and Lindelof and we concede 3 goals, Varane sat there on the bench laughing at you, going, I'm fit. You didn't think I was good enough. You fucked up. And that's my fear. Because I want Ten Hag to do well. I want him to stay. I'm Ten Hag in. I wanted him at the club. I believe he's the right manager. But you know as well as I know, if Varane's not playing, Martinez is injured, and he goes with Maguire and Lindelof in these big games, can you imagine what, we get beat by, somebody beats us 3 or 4-0, and the defence is all over the place. You know the headline. You know the headline. Well, he's got Rafael Varane. He's got Rafael Varane, one of the best centre-backs in the world over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He's dropped him for Maguire and Lindelof and Evans. And, why has he dropped him? Because he's fell out with him. You can fall out with people when you run a team, but if they're good, you bloody better get them in your team and just deal with it, because it's going to damage you at the end of the day. I worry for Ten Hag, basically. I'm worried about him because I think he's consistently look, and I've got to say, Ginger Red says these fallouts are disturbing to say the least. It may come back to bite Eric, but there is another episode in the United soap. We don't know 100% what's. We've got Harry Maguire's brother here, Red Army. Finally, a manager where you have to earn your spot. I mean, what does that even mean? What does that even mean, mate? What does that even mean? Finally, a manager where you need to earn your spot. Rashford's continually picked, whether he plays badly or not. Bruno's continually picked, whether he plays badly or not. Garnacho's should have been starting weeks ago and is only just getting to start. Palestri never gets to start and deserves to start. Let's not pretend Ten Hag's running a team where if you play well in training, you get in the team. That's part of the problem with Jadon Sancho. So, what you're talking about is the players that you want to be picked are being picked at the moment. This team's not being run by who's the best or who has earned the place. Nobody knows how it's being run at the moment. And that's one thing I would say. We have got an Erik Ten Hag press conference today. Varane might start on Sunday. This might not be, it's news. I think we all know that story is true. Well, we know it's true because Johnny Evans started over Rafael Varane. And I still think that, You know, like when Phil Jones took that corner. Who was the manager when Phil Jones took the corner? Was it Van Gaal? Was it Jose? It seems to me, Lee says, hi Mark, as much as you and me and everyone else champions Ten Hag, he's got to start playing the game and stop being stubborn. You can't just want to manage small game players, says Lee. Look, I'll tell you what. Sir Jim Radcliffe will be looking at this, probably thinking the same as you and I. He'll be on the phone to Sir David Brailsford. He'll be talking. He'll be going, this worries me a little bit. Does it worry you, Sir David? It does, Sir Jim. And it will, because it's not about, look, it's not about Varane. There are people in our fan base that are quite happy about this. Let's sell Varane and let's get a better defender. And look, there are people out there saying we need to get a younger defender. Can I just say, in the Manchester derby, Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans started over Varane. If you're getting rid of Varane because of his age, Johnny Evans is 3 or 4 years older than Varane and Maguire's older than Varane. So it's not an age thing. It's not an age thing. We're not clearing house on age at all because we've got players who are older than Varane. So it's not about let's get rid of the older players. This is about getting rid of the big earning players regardless of ability. And that's all I see at the moment. But what I will say is United says, stop pretending to back the manager. You're clearly player FC. Things will never change with fans like you. Right, United, you're on your last warning, right? You've had 2 toxic posts. I can take it. I can argue back. I can have a debate, but you're not having a debate. You're just shouting bullshit, really. I was late with Ollie. I was late with Mourinho, and I don't want Ten Hag to get the sack. As I've detailed numerous times, you're wasting my time. You're wasting everyone else's time. If you want to expose yourself as an idiot, please put another super chat in. But if you've got anything constructive to say that actually is going to generate a bit of a conversation, then please do that or please leave because you're just talking nonsense. Nonsense. There are channels for that. Go and find them. But look, I feel that one thing that I would say is that we know the source of this problem. We saw it. And as I said, Phil Jones taking that corner at Fulham for Louis van Gaal, I believe it was, sort of was the moment that Van Gaal got ridiculed and he fell on the floor, didn't he? Jose had a few moments where he did. Ollie certainly had a few as well. And I just feel with Ten Hag, we've already got that moment, haven't we? Where if he gets sacked or it all goes wrong, you can already see that moment. Maybe some people will say the Ronaldo Piers Morgan interview. Maybe some people will say it's the Jadon Sancho tweet. I mean, there's some already, isn't there? I would say the interview after the Manchester derby where they wiped their arse with us. Let's not pretend. It wasn't... He stood there and was asked about Varane and he said it was tactical. It was tactical to pick Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. And they wiped their arse with us. What I've never heard anybody say is he got it completely wrong. They focused on Varane had been dropped for Johnny Evans. That was the line they focused on. Nobody focused on the fact that it didn't fucking work in a million years. Like, he dropped Varane for Evans in the Manchester derby, and everyone just spoke about the fact that he dropped Varane for Evans. No one spoke about the fact that he got it wrong. He got it wrong. Massively wrong. It wasn't some tactical masterclass. He got it wrong. You did something that was wrong, and we lost. And we may well have lost if you'd picked Varane, but you did something that didn't help the team because you'd fallen out with Varane. And that doesn't work at Manchester United unless you're Sir Alex Ferguson. I've seen Sir Alex Ferguson drop David Beckham for Luke Chadwick, and we won. And if you're going to do it, you better win, because otherwise you lose. Raphael Varane probably fell out with Ten Hag after that and said, you know, I can't believe you've done that. And Ten Hag probably said, well, I'm the boss. But Varane would look at it and go, yeah, because we played really well, Gaffer, and we've been playing really well all around that, haven't I? You were wrong. And you look wrong. And that's not, you can't be stuck. Look, managers have to manage. They have to manage. Mourinho should have been backed. But if you lose, you lose. If you're gonna make big decisions and you're gonna show you're the boss, you've got to win. And that's my concern with Ten Hag at the moment, is that we got the evidence. We've got the evidence. He's desperately trying to exert his authority. And there's a great piece in the Mail where they talk about the difference between last season and this season, which I'll read for you in a moment. But if I was marking this, let's all do it. What would you give Ten Hag this season out of 10 if 6 is the average? I'm imagining things, but didn't Eric Ten Hag mention Varane and Rashford and not meeting standards in pre-season, says Patrick Lynch? You might be right. You might be right. But Look, in relation to Erik ten Hag, I'd give him a 4 this season. 6 is average, 5 is below average, and 4 is poor. I think it's been poor so far. There is career mode today, Dan T, yes. I'd give him a 4. I think his tactics and substitutions have not been good. He was very lucky to beat Wolves on the opening day. We were lucky to beat Burnley away. We were rubbish against Sheffield United away. We weren't much better against Fulham. We weren't great against Luton. We've not played well this season. And on top of that, how many games have we watched together on the watch-along where at half-time he's completely changing his midfield? So when a manager's doing that consistently, the team's not responding, it's not doing what he wants, he's having to change the plan at half-time. It's not gone well for Erik this season. Why? I don't have the answer to that. You don't have the answer to that. But we're not doing well, and the evidence is there we're not doing well. Like, he's having to change his team every week. He's having to change his tactics at half-time. We're scraping through games that better teams are destroying. On top of that, you got the Sancho issue, you got the Casemiro issue, you got the Varane issue, you have the De Gea issue in the summer. It's not an environment that, and we know how this works. And unfortunately, Ten Hag is at Man United at a time where we've already sacked 4 managers. So it's not like we're averse to sacking managers, or more importantly, it's not like we're a fan base that won't turn on a manager. We've all got to accept that. I have, you have. So it's almost like he's not read the script. It's like turning up to do a Scorsese film and you're working alongside De Niro and Pacino, and you've never been in a film like this. You've been in Hollyoaks, and you walk in and you haven't read the script. And De Niro is falling out with you, and Pacino's falling out with you, and Scorsese's saying, look, I believe in you, mate, but these people know what they're on about, and I do as well. Like, learn the fucking script. Don't come in here being Billy Big Bollocks if you don't know the script. And the script at Manchester United is this. We have sacked 4 managers in the last 10 years. The fan base has agreed with that every single time. You cannot come into this football club and have patience when you are making mistakes that are not bringing results on the pitch. Last season, you could have done what you bloody well liked. Get rid of Ronaldo, you got away with it because we went into 3rd and we won a trophy. He got away with it last year because he won and the team bought into it. Ronaldo left and the team bought into it. I love Ronaldo. I'm sure many of you love Ronaldo. And I'm sure we can all agree a lot of what Ronaldo said was right about winning mentality and everything. But when he left, the team liked it. And I think the team liked it because they're not winners. And they didn't like having a winner there telling them how bad they were. So when he left, they had a bit of a bounce. It was like when Oli came in. Mourinho's gone. Let's show him. And I think when Ronaldo went, let's show Ronaldo. And we only did it for 3 months. Ronaldo left basically, well, the season started again in December. The Carabao Cup final was in February. And we were pretty shit after the Carabao Cup final. So we had a 3-month bounce after Ronaldo left. The same way we had a 3-month bounce after Mourinho left. With more or less the same players. These players can do a 3-month bounce to prove people wrong, but they can't do consistent. And here we are. Here we are. The club is toxic. Good players and managers turn crap, and it makes no sense other than the hierarchy creating that environment glazes out, says Ian. Mark, I'm happy Ten Hag does this. Not nice for the squad, but like Pep, no mercy. Do what the manager wants you to do, and we are in transition, says Alexander. Mate, I want to believe that. I'm actually on that bandwagon. You've got to back the manager, and you've got to let him do. Well, you don't have to, but I back the manager. I'm Ten Hag in. I want him to do well. But Alexander, the difference between me and you is quite simple. I see alarm bells. I see danger ahead. You, and I love it, just see back the manager. Everything's going to be all right. Put Bob Marley on. You know, it's lovely. Everything is going to be all right, and that's great. But I'm not a fantasist. I'm a realist, and I'm worried. And I just don't think this is the right path to go down. I think it creates too many enemies for yourself. Look, when you're in a vulnerable position, which he is, stop creating enemies. Don't make enemies out of the media. Don't make enemies out of the dressing room, and certainly don't make enemies out of your own fan base. And I think that to me is the big problem, is that I just think he's creating problems publicly that don't really need to be public. I don't want to bring the Sancho one in because I stand with Eric on that 100%. You know, the player never should have put a tweet out. But this Varane stuff, look, I know, you know, everybody knows Varane is a top quality player with a 100% professionalism as a player. How you fall out with him publicly, I do not know. He's not the sort of player to take it public. And why has it gone public? And I don't know. I honestly don't know. Calvin, thanks for joining the members club. And I must say that it feels like, and this is only perception again. Maybe it's tiredness, but it feels like we're constantly pitched against players that we probably don't want to be pitched against. And I know what United said about Player FC, but if I'm being fair, it's not even that. In the summer, we were pitched against Maguire. We were. I didn't start the story. You didn't start the story. We were pitched against Maguire. West Ham have had a bid of £30 million accepted. Maguire won't go because of the money. Like, that was the story we got from credible people. United have accepted a bid of £30 million from West Ham for Maguire, and he won't go. So, obviously, everyone piles onto Maguire. Why won't he go? He's not in the team. It's about money. It's greed. De Gea, been at the club for years. Onana. I know De Gea's been offered the contract on a holiday, but we've got rid of it. We're going for Onana. So you back the manager, you back the keeper. Ronaldo. Yeah, look at him doing an interview with Piers Morgan. You back the manager. Sancho puts the tweet out. You back the manager. This Varane situation. We back the manager. Casemiro's probably going to get it. We back the manager. And the problem with that is I'll keep doing it, but every time it happens, I'm going to also say, I don't really get what this is all about. It's hard. It's a hard line approach. But Mike Light said, it's a hard line approach, but is it doing him any good? Or are we just, gradually getting to that cliff edge? It's hard to see the transition. I like Ten Hag, but it's getting out of hand fast. But how is all this coming out publicly? They need to find the leaks, says John. But, well, yeah, you make a good point. But this is the next thing I wanted to talk to you about. So this is from the same article, which is coming in from... I don't know where this is coming from. This is... Apparently somebody just put something out around Varane. Everyone in and around Man United is very surprised that player Rafael Varane's quality has fallen down the pecking order so fast. Varane hasn't asked to leave the club and it's not his desire to move on. Varane's advisors wonder if this is about his wages and the club wanting to offload with the new investors coming in. Yeah. You see, this is. I knew that was going to happen. That's come out in the last few minutes. Rafael Varane and his advisors have been left stunned at his impending exit from Manchester United. Varane is settled in Manchester. He loves the club and the fans, and is expected to retire at Old Trafford. It's clear the manager has seen something he doesn't like in recent weeks. Well, I mean, look, this was always going to happen. It was always going to happen. Also from the Mail, the unity among the Man United squad that was so strong last season has been lacking. It's not been helped by the players' split over the decision to exile Jadon Sancho. It is symptomatic of a division in the camp between players who welcome Erik ten Hag's discipline and those who do not. Privately, some of the coaching staff have discussed adopting a softer approach to get all the players on side, approaching a crucial run of games. That's a split dressing room, folks. I mean, I'm only reading the news, and obviously what I will always say with the news is it could be bullshit, but it's a mess, and it shouldn't be happening in season. Last week, we heard about players feeling tired and blaming pre-season. Now, and we've suspected this for a long time, there's a split in the dressing room around the way Ten Hag is treating certain people. As I said in the summer, a lot of players weren't happy about how De Gea was treated. Apparently, some people are not happy how Sancho's been treated. They won't be happy about the Varane situation. It's a mess. And if you're going to do this sort of stuff, then you shouldn't be doing it in season. I mean, that's my big line really this morning. Don't do it in season. If you're going to fall out with a player and get rid of them, do it in a transfer window. Because you know what? He was here today, gone tomorrow. I remember speaking to Paul Ince about this, and he was like, I was at Man United, we'd won loads of stuff. Sir Alex Ferguson appears in the summer at the golf course, says, we've had a bid from Inter and we've accepted it. I was like, I was stunned, but, I knew I was gone. You go, and all your mates, you don't really talk to them that much anymore because you're at a different club with different mates and they've got a different team. And that's what you do. It's the oldest fucking rule in the book. If you want to get rid of a player, do it in the transfer window, preferably in the summer, because players are on holiday. By the time they come back for pre-season, you've got a few weeks with them to go on tour, build a morale, and you start a new season. You don't do it in September. You don't do it in November. You don't do it when it's going to be all over the papers. You can't get rid of them. They've got to train still. You've got to put them in the reserves. It's just the way... It's Man United all over again. It's typical Man United, and it comes down to structure and it comes down to management. Because if Ten Hag is saying, no, he's not training with us, no, he's not in the team, like, who's above him to say, Eric, before you do that, let's just think here. Are you being a bit hot-headed? Is there a better way to do this where we get what you want, but we manage it better? And I just think we're managing these situations terribly. If Varane leaves in January, will he be replaced, says Levi? Well, he's got to be replaced. Welcome to Members Club, Kevin. Thanks everyone who's getting their thoughts in it, by the way. Shouldn't be buying these over-the-hill players anyway. Do we ever learn, says Dot. Oh, yeah, because he was over the hill last season, wasn't he? He was over the hill last season when he was our best centre-back. He was over the hill last season when he was man of the match in the new camp. He was over the hill last season when we got 17 clean sheets and finished third and got to 2 cup finals. I mean, let's get real. Whatever the validity of what's come out from Varane's camp, it's actually true. The player is apparently stunned, like happy at Man United, expected to retire here, feels that this is to do with getting rid of players with big wages. Well, hello and welcome to the club. I sort of agree. I don't get this. I find it completely and utterly confusing how a player that has delivered for this football club last season is suddenly frozen out for, let's be honest, a player that got relegated with Everton, with Leicester, who's 35, and a player that Ten Hag would rather put Luke Shaw at centre-back than play in Harry Maguire. It's completely arse about face. And let's not forget here as well, what's really confusing is last season, Raphael Varane was our best centre-back and massively part of a team that was heading somewhere. In the summer, he tried to sell Harry Maguire, and now in November, he's trying to sell Varane and he's starting Harry Maguire. Does that strike you as a management team that has a vision? Or does that strike you as a management team that is very, very hot-headed and sporadic about what it does? I mean, there's the evidence. Last season, we're building something with Varane and Martinez and maybe Lindelof, and we want another centre-back. In the summer, we're trying to sell Maguire, and by November, Varane is out of the team and Maguire's the starting centre-back. I mean, that's not a vision. This is survival football. This is bloody change your mind week to week, which is fine, but as a fan base, you look at it and you go, what's the bloody plan here? What's going on? What's the vision? Because let's be honest, there's no vision with Lindelof, Maguire and Varane anyway, because they're all basically 30, 31, 28, 29. There's no future with them. So what is the bloody plan? It's worrying. I'm worried. And I said this last night in the Everton preview. I look at the games we've got coming up. I look at the way we've played this season. I look at the constant fallouts. This is not the behaviour of a football club that's heading for good times. This is 18 months ago when Ollie got sacked and I said, I don't think we've hit the bottom of the barrel yet. And I still say that 18 months later. I'm not convinced we've hit the bottom of the barrel yet, which means, in simple terms, I'm not completely convinced we've hit the bottom yet. I still think we've got a few more levels to go down, which is terrifying. It's confusing. But we've got an Erik Ten Hag press conference today. I do hope that this is dealt with quickly, because I hope that there are conversations that Ten Hag is having saying, look, I can't have another Jadon Sancho situation. Raphael Varane is not Jadon Sancho. He's been part of my team. He's a model professional. Let's sort this out. But to this day, I still don't understand why you'd ever drop Raphael Varane for Johnny Evans in a Manchester derby. I'll never understand that. Varane and Casemiro held the team together last season, says Davlin. Well, apparently Casemiro's next. I read that this morning as well. Apparently Casemiro's next. He could leave in January as well. It makes you sick. It makes you sick because the reason people wanted a full sale and the Glazers out was because new owners would have come in, cleared the debt and built this team with money. And yet, the biggest fear I have is Sir Jim's coming in, but the Glazers are still here. And what are we doing? We're picking off players who are on big wages. Do you think Qatar would have come in and done that? They wouldn't need to do that straight away. They'd get rid of the shit. They'd walk in and say, you're on 200 grand a week, you're a load of shit, fuck off. You know, that's what they do. What we're doing is, you're really good, but you're on a big wage, get rid of it, go. What about the player that's shit on 200 grand a week? Yeah, we'll leave them for now. Get rid of them. Get rid of the biggest earners, but he's really good. Get rid of him. Just get rid of the biggest earners and that's just financial. So are you not concerned that actually we're behaving like a club that's financially in trouble? Well, we are. The Glazers are still here and we're still in massive amounts of debt. So it's confusing what the plan is for United, but what worries me is it looks to me like we're not looking at players on ability, we're looking at players on wage bill. And when you're doing that, you're Leeds United of 20 years ago. You know, you're desperately trying to save money, no matter how. It's a bit like the guy or girl who's got the mansion, he's got the Ferrari, he's got 3 Ferraris, and he's living the life, and then suddenly gets a phone call from the bank manager saying, you need to cut your cloth accordingly or you could lose it all. And you start selling Ferraris just to survive. And I feel like that's a little bit what we're giving off at the moment. Because I don't for 1 minute think this is it's not logical. It's not logical to go, you know what? I want to sell Varane in January and stick with Johnny Evans, who's 35. Yeah, that's what I want to do. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm confused at the moment. Kevin, welcome to Members Club. Wait until Sancho gets sold and gives Gary Neville an interview talking about Eric Ten Hag and saying Ronaldo was right. Well, Vita, this is the problem as well. These things will happen. If we're confused about it now, and we don't, I've always said this, we do not know Sancho's side of the story. And we will. And we will. And when that comes out, Ten Hag better be winning. You can do what you like if you're winning. Pep Guardiola can drop Haaland. As long as they keep winning, he's a genius. But you got to win. You can be ruthless, but you've got to win. And at the moment, there's not really any hint of that. And we're heading into a very difficult set of games and we're falling out with people way too much. And it does concern me because I want him to do well. I saw enough from Ajax to want this guy over Pochettino. I saw enough last season to say, I want to give this guy a couple of years. But I'm also not just going to be blind to it and go, oh, everything's going to be fine. There are some very concerning issues at the moment. G says, sitting on the fence, FC. I don't know how I'm sitting on the fence, mate. I think I've been very blunt and forthright with what I'm thinking and what I'm saying. And I'm backing the manager. I'm just saying that he's walking on very thin ice at the moment with some of the decisions he's making. And I can see it going very, very badly for him, which is going to be a massive change because I think it's catastrophic for Manchester United to sack a manager and start the cycle again. I think it's going to set us back another 3 years. I mean, if you sack Ten Hag, you end up with about £400 million of Ten Hag players, plus 300 million of Ollie's players, still some of Mourinho's players, plus the new manager needs money. We can't afford, financially, we can't even afford to sack Ten Hag, so I don't know why people are talking about it, which is why I say I think things could get a lot worse. Because I just don't think we're in a position. We're not owned by Qatar. We're owned by the Glazers. We're not in a position to sack a manager and give the new manager £300 million. We're not. We've got to make this situation work. And that's why we need some strong fucking leadership. Because it just looks worrying to me. It really does. A few people saying, well, you know, you can't blame Eric Ten Hag if Varane's always injured. He wasn't injured in the Manchester derby. He wasn't injured in the last few games. He's only had one injury this season. He picked up a few injuries last season. Like, yeah, the injury thing is fine, but he didn't get dropped against Man City because he was injured. He got dropped against Man City because Ten Hag thought Johnny Evans was better. Something's gone on somewhere. There's always two sides to a story. Do I think Ten Hag will talk about it in the press conference? Yes, he has to be asked about it. Do I think we'll get an honest answer? I don't know. What do I want to see happen? I want to see him start against Everton. I think that's the best thing that can happen. Varane starting against Everton destroys all of this story. It goes away and we move on into important games. I want to see him start against Everton, but I didn't put him in the team last night in my predicted lineup, and I don't think he will. But if he starts against Everton on Sunday, all this goes away. All this story of a broken relationship goes away. We can park that and forget about it and focus on more important things. But whether that will happen or not, I don't know. DD22 says this is a bit of rebuild. It's part of a process so we can get harder working, committed players on lower wages, says DD. I think that's very, very simplistic, mate. Personally, I think it's about getting rid of big wages, full stop. I think this is like a fire sale. I don't think this is about ability. I think this is get rid of people on 300 grand a week, apart from Marcus Rashford. I don't think it's about a rebuild, because if it's about a rebuild, there's players on 60 grand a week, 100 grand a week, and 200 grand a week who are not good enough. Are we not getting rid of them as well? Or are we just going after the big earners? And at the moment, look at the last 12 months, it very looks like we're going after the big earners. It doesn't look like we're having a rebuild of any shape or form. But I think as well, one of the other things, if I'm being completely honest, and maybe a little bit petulant, is the fact that I was really engaged in what we did last season. I felt that last season there was the ability to go from that to Arsenal level. We finished third, we got to 2 cup finals, and I felt that if we got the summer right, we could go to the Arsenal level. And then maybe the year after that, we could start competing with Man City. And I look at it now and I go, well, the players that are leaving, the players they want to get rid of, we're not going to the Arsenal level next year. We're going to be... We're starting again. It feels like we're starting again. I've said this a few times. It feels like what we did last season under Ten Hag was a dream. Because everything we did right about last season, we've broken it. I don't get it. Everything that was good about last season is not good this year. It's gone. Like, De Gea's gone. Varane's not playing well. Casemiro's not playing well. Rashford's not playing well. Bruno's not playing well. Eriksen's not playing well. Luke Shaw and Martinez have been injured. Everything we built from last season is gone. And it feels like under the same manager, we're now saying, let's start again. But we have spent 400 million quid. So why are we resetting again? And Erik Ten Hag bought Casemiro. So why are we removing a player after a year that this manager bought? Sancho, Ronaldo, De Gea, I get it. Varane, I get it. Okay, you didn't buy them. That's always going to be an excuse. But you bought Casemiro. It's just very confusing. And the only way out of this, and it's the way I want, is to go and beat Everton on Sunday. Go and beat Galatasaray on Wednesday. Go and beat Newcastle on the following Saturday. Go and beat Chelsea. Because if you win, your critics have to shut up. And that's what he's got to go and do. He's got to go and win. But it is worrying, not just the Varane story, but it's also worrying from the same article talking about the camaraderie of last season being gone. The dressing room being split between liking discipline and not liking how he's treating things. And the one thing we haven't seen this season is camaraderie and unity. The team is not playing as a team. And I'm genuinely worried. I'm genuinely worried, and I'm probably more worried about it than a lot of you, because some of you probably don't care if Ten Hag gets sacked. Some of you don't think he will get sacked. But I'm worried because I'm like, I don't want him to get sacked, but I can see the dangers of it. And you cannot defeat player power. Not at this football club. You cannot defeat player power. And some people will say, well, maybe Sir Jim's going to get rid of player power. But Sir Jim's not going to be in until the new year. December, there's 7 or 8 games. If they go badly... And one of the big problems as well is, and I said this with Solskjaer and I said it with Mourinho, and a lot of you agreed with me, when the fans make their mind up, they very rarely come back. So if he loses a proportion of this fan base, they won't come back. it very rarely happens that a manager loses a fan base and wins them back. There are examples of it, but it's quite rare. He's got to maintain and keep the fans. And at the moment, he does. He does. I mean, if I did a poll now, I guarantee you we're going to be well over 80%. And that's his starting spot. But if that starts coming down, I know that, we've done these sort of polls before and they do reflect the general fan base because it is a fantastic community. But if we lose some games badly over the next month and we do this on New Year's Day and that's come down to 60-40, he's in trouble because that 40% probably isn't going to come back to him. You've got to maintain the support of the fan base, and you maintain the support of the fan base through trust. Trust in your footballing style, trust in your decision making, and trust in your vision. And if you lose that trust, you're in trouble. Well, do you trust the process? Only an idiot trusts the process, really, because we've been told that many times. Do you have trust in the way that we're playing football? Well, we're not really playing good football at the moment, are we? Do you have trust in the decisions that the manager's making? Well, I do, but I'm concerned about some of them. I'm not wholly behind them. So if I'm Erik ten Hag, those 3 principles, I've got to get them right because I've got to keep people on board. Mark, mate, we're lucky last season. We played awful, says Keel. And I feel like Erik ten Hag will be like Poch at Spurs, brilliant at getting results against the bottom tier teams, but with the top half, he'll struggle, says Sadiq. Arsenal trusted the process, Mark, says Rap. Yes. Look, you're probably not going to find anybody more Erik ten Hag in than me. I was desperate to get him, and I want him to do well. And I don't and won't say ten Hag out. And I'm certainly nowhere near that now at the moment. But what I will do, and it's a lesson I learned from my granddad years ago, is that just because you like something doesn't mean that you have to be blind to its weaknesses. And I think it's a great bit of advice. You can respect and love something, but you should never be blind to their weaknesses, because imagine you absolutely love somebody and they're your world, but then you see them do something bad, like, I don't know, steal from the local shop. Do you just ignore it because you love them, or do you actually say, look, I love you, but that's wrong and you're going to get yourself in trouble doing stuff like that? And I think that some people are just blinded by their love and support of something. I'll back you to the hill. It's a bit like having a friend who tells you such and such is a complete knobhead, but then you meet such and such and they're all right. Well, are you going to go to your friend and say, well, I don't think they're a knobhead? Or are you just going to say, yeah, they're a knobhead because you've told me to? You've got to make your own choices. And that's how I feel about Ten Hag at the moment. I'm like, I do support him. I want him to do really well. I'm just concerned about what's going on around him at the moment, and it's not good. And it could all be bullshit. I mean, let's be clear. It could all be bullshit here. Like, there could be a load of nonsense going on, but whether it's nonsense or not, it's still noise around him, and I think there's more he could do to change that opinion, because we know the media are after him. The media were after him a month ago, very unfairly. So the media are after him. We don't know what the players are like. The one thing he's got is a board that can't afford to sack him and a fan base that supports him. But don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. Look, I think people are probably a little bit confused this morning because of what's going on, and they're a little bit like me. They're a little bit concerned. 70% of Ten Hag in, 33% of Ten Hag out. That has come down a little bit, but I think that's probably recency bias around a lot of what's going on. But I would be taking note of that if I was Ten Hag. That really was around 85% when we did this a couple of weeks ago. The fact that it's dropped by nearly 20% is probably because we're all a bit confused about what's going on and a bit concerned. Win on Sunday, that'll be back up to 85% again. I've got no doubt about that. But it is a warning that if you lose the fans, a lot of them won't come back. And people aren't going to blindly follow something that they don't understand. That's a big message. The people followed the Pied Piper because they like the music. At the moment, I don't know whether this music's good or not. Yes, Mark, let's keep players that spend more time on the medical bench than the pitch. Advocate for Player FC. Yeah, you've done it again, haven't you? I just won't read the next one. You've basically reworded the same message twice. And you know what I find funny about that sort of message as well? Player FC, which is actually something I've been adamantly against for a very long time. I'm not Player FC. I see patterns. Sancho needs to go. Ronaldo needed to go. I don't think Varane and Casemiro needed to go, and I don't think De Gea needed to go. But I'm not Player FC. I see a pattern of removing players and falling out with players who are on big wages, regardless of ability. I don't mind falling out with players that are shit and need to go, but falling out with players that really do not need to go and certainly don't need to go before some other players just because they're on a big wage, I think is dubious. And I'll go back to that. So, yeah, just another saga at Manchester United. We'll have to wait and see what Ten Hag says, I suppose. Ten Hag's press conference today is normally 1:30, so we'll be live just after that. Bamboo says, new poll, keep Eric Ten Hag or keep Casemiro and Varane. Well, I would never do that poll, and the answer to that is keep Ten Hag. If it's keep Ten Hag or keep Casemiro and Varane, you keep the manager, 100%. The manager must be allowed to manage. But that doesn't mean you can't say you think he's making mistakes. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Chun, we've already done that Varane one. We did it last night. Maybe you should tune in every show, 8 o'clock and morning show. We already did it. It was, I think it was about 50-50 whether to keep Varane or not. We don't hide away from things. The player he's falling out with are all the leadership players. I'm really worried, says Nicholas. Well, yeah, Nicholas, leadership team last season, De Gea, Varane, Casemiro, Maguire, Bruno, Heaton, Luke Shaw. Maguire's not in the leadership team anymore. Varane, Ronaldo's gone. Casemiro, De Gea's gone. This is the trouble, though. Conspiracy. It might be coincidence. It might be coincidence that he's picking off the biggest earners and the biggest leaders. It might not. But it doesn't do him any favours. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see what he's got to say at lunchtime. He needs to come out pulling no punches. He needs a really positive interview. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be reacting to it. And, of course, we've got the 8 o'clock show. Oh, and also, just before we go, what I must show you this. It is Black Friday, and obviously I've got some United Stand merch on here. Yeah, I didn't have any audio on there, did I? What a prat. Basically, that wheel that's on the website is Black Friday spin the wheel discount. So you can get 20%, 25%, even 50%. So links in the live chat. Go to United Stand Shopify. Should have turned the audio on. Go to what you want. The spin the wheel will come up. Spin it. See what discount you get. And you could get 50% off on a Christmas jumper or something like that today. Check it out through United Stand Shopify or the link in the live chat. Go to the items you want. It will say spin the wheel. Click it, spin it, get your discount. Just spin it. Just spin it to win it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Fucking idiots. Muted. What a prat.